All right. Well, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
And this is, of course, Conversations with the Crawleys, where we have conversations about stuff. All right. And so you all know we've been watching Ready to Love season 5/6. Paul, you'll let us know which one they actually told you it was. But we've got Paul from the latest season of Ready to Love with us. He often dropped by for an interview, promised it early in the season, man of his word. So we definitely want to welcome Paul to the Conversations with the Crawley channel so we can have this conversation.
Definitely. So we thought we'd start out with the icebreaker just to kind of get everybody going a little bit. You want to go ahead and introduce?
Yeah. So Paul, we're going to start off with a question for you. Just kind of break the ice, kind of see where you at. So you've heard One Gotta Go, right? Can you hear it?
Okay. And all right, no doubt about it. And let me know if my internet drops out, because then I'll switch it over.
Okay. All right, yeah, because you were frozen just a moment there. But all right, so we want to start off the conversation with a One Gotta Go. Okay.
All right, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I had the crappy internet going, but I think we should be good to go now.
Okay. All right. So we got the One Gotta Go. So you produce music, right?
Yes, I do.
All right. So we're gonna give you this one.
All right.
One Gotta Go. And remember, if one gotta go, we're treating it like the one that you say has got to go. For you, their music is gone. None of their albums. None of that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So R&B male groups: New Edition, Boys to Men, Jodeci, Drew Hill. One of them got to go.
All right, so I'll knock off Drew Hill.
Okay.
And why?
Just because the rest is my favorite. Yeah, those are my guys right there.
I think when I got it too, I think that's kind of where I was. I was like, Drew Hill.
Yeah, he's expendable. Drew Hill, they expendable.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. 5 steps, but you're not taking a 6 step with me.
Okay. Absolutely.
All right. So Paul, here's the thing. We know that your time on Ready to Love, if we can be honest, surprised a lot of people. Right? From the standpoint that from their first episode, you were in the bottom. Right? Or the bottom 2. Or were you not?
Oh. No. So and that was the thing. if you go back to that first episode at the mixer, they showed a bottom two when it came to the ladies, but I think that because they were trying to sell the story based off of the character that they or the slot that they put me in.
Okay.
They made you feel like I was in the bottom, but I don't think that was the truth.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I know for us, when we saw the episode, we were really concerned about you.
Oh, so was I.
I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, so I'll tell you something about that, which was it was interesting because those, I mean, they really do kill you sometimes on the edits.
Yeah.
And I got destroyed on the edits coming in first time around. When I saw that, I was in the same boat as you guys, like, oh no. no, I don't know who this guy is. So yeah.
And what made you decide to choose Ready to Love? Have you seen the show before, or
no? So actually, they chose me. I was just minding my good old business, and they sent me a message and they said, hey, we think you would be great for the show, and they kind of pitched the whole thing, and I was like, okay. And at first, I was like very, very reluctant to do that because I'm more of a private person and I'm super low key, very, very chill.
Yeah.
And just laid back. And so when they presented that opportunity, I was like, nah, probably not. And then I talked to a good friend of mine, and he's like, go ahead, man, just you should maybe go for it. And I watched all of those every last season back to back to back to back to back.
Wow.
Yeah, so I binge watched it for a week or two.
Okay.
And at the last minute, I turned in the application because I still wasn't going to do it. But I turned it in at the very, very last minute.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah. So you didn't need help because you're PO. So you didn't need help finding love.
At all.
They recruited you.
They recruited me. They definitely recruited me.
Okay.
Yeah, and it seems like that's the way it went for the guys.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. Because it seemed like you really had the strategy. Were you coming up with the strategy when, like the first mixer because of the binge watching, or is that just kind of your personality when you're dating?
Well, see, so let's talk just a little bit about that mixer, because I think what you guys saw was you saw me, coming in hot on Ace,
right?
And all of this other stuff, and so that conversation that you saw with Ace, the first thing I said to Ace when I talked to her, because if you watch the show, you see how her demeanor is very chill, laid back, and so I came to the table. I said, "Hi, how are you doing?" I introduced myself, and I said, "You seem pretty shy. Are you intimidated? And is it okay if I sit down?" And she said, "No, go ahead and have a seat." And we were talking, and as we were talking, the marriage thing came up, and so I said, "Well, what happened? Did you not give it a chance, or did you guys work through things and go through counseling and blah blah blah?" Mm-hmm. What you heard was, "Oh, you didn't give it a chance," and then at the end of that conversation, you saw me standing up saying, "Are you intimidated?" And that was the first thing that I said.
Oh, wow.
Right. So and what was funny is that whole entire night, like later on that evening, Ace and I, like, we were vibing really good. And like later on throughout the season, you guys never saw this, but me and Ace had probably the best date that I've had on the show. And we literally were, the date got so deep that she started crying, and we almost both were crying on that date. It was a deep one. Right. Wow. But they isolated that. They isolated that because they didn't want you to see that other stuff.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I know we've kind of have picked up on is just sometimes the editing just seems so disjointed, and it seems like it's gotten, in our opinion, it's gotten worse.
Right.
Oh yeah,
and it might be
sure.
because we're critiquing the show and reviewing it.
Right.
But it seems like there's some things that just from our perspective don't always match up, or we don't because one thing I also noticed was towards the end, and you and Dakia started, connecting.
Right.
But I also went back over my notes and was like, Dakia had mentioned your name a few times in the ladies' lounge as, positive that she was interested, what have you. So we didn't maybe see the full, would you say we didn't see the fullness of you and Dakia's connection?
So one of the things was like Dakia had she was the first person obviously that I met. So initially I was interested in maybe going out on a date with her to try to get to know her. But you have to understand too, we don't truly set up these dates, right? So it's more of a social experiment, and it's kind of like a way for them to contrive certain scenarios, right? Because you put people, I mean, keep in mind we do a personality test coming in. You know what I mean? We sit down with a psychologist, and so they understand the personalities and how they jive, so they know exactly what to do to kind of ramp things up.
Right.
And so when I asked for dates with her, I never got them. They never gave them to me. And so like over time, in the process, you just move on because we didn't have the time to really connect. So what you saw later on was, us actually really sitting down for the first couple of times.
Gotcha.
Right.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that piece alone kind of changes a lot of, because you're right, how you were portrayed from the beginning. Because I think the way you first kind of noticed us, we had put the banner out, PO, pretty obnoxious, because that's the way you came across in that first episode.
Did. And I get that. Yeah, for sure. I get that.
And I think we've said a lot, even when we are, doing our recap, that based off of what we can see, based off of how they edit it.
No, listen, and I'm with you guys, because like what you were seeing, I was saying the same thing. Do you know what I mean? And so like I had this whole big thing in my head that, when I was done, I said, okay, I know that I represented myself as best as I could, something that, my mom would be proud of.
Right.
And then when I started seeing like how they were killing me on the edits, and I mean, a lot of people say edit, but I went through so much edits. I mean, if I pointed them out to you, it would make sense. Like I went through the ringer, so it had to work. It had to work for the storyline that they wanted to show America. Do you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So now, when was this actually filmed? When were you guys filming this?
We filmed this in September 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and then we wrapped, I think, around November.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then it comes up with you and Tommy, because it seemed like Tommy was on you a little bit too, as the filming on that. So how much was that edit? Like
so that was one of the things that I really didn't like, only because it was, I mean, I get it. He's a paid actor, and like when he's there, he's got this thing in his ear, and they're telling him, say this or say something about this, or give him a little bit of trouble. So this was all in the storyline. So I think what they wanted to show you guys was, somebody that was very super awkward, couldn't read the room, couldn't really have decent conversations, just liable to say anything at any time. And then, add in a little bit of the conjuncture coming from Tommy's ear. You know what I'm saying? And then, that kind of completes the whole story. So now it makes everything that they're showing you believable in terms of the storyline.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
So what have you learned, like, going through this whole process? Do you feel like there was some actual chemistry between you and some of the ladies, even though there's a lot of the editing going on, a storyline created by yourself, about yourself?
Yeah. So one of the things that I did learn, and just let me step back just for a second to the mixer. In that mixer event, you have all of the producers, like the whole team, they're all there. And so they're watching all of these monitors live, right? So what they're doing is they're grabbing pieces of everybody's characteristics and saying, okay, we got a good insight on who we want to do what with. And so that being said, there was the girl Keena that was there. And Keena and I actually had great chemistry. That is somebody that I thought, we would have went the distance had she had stayed. And I remember talking to her and I said, if we both make it out of here, like it's prison. I said, if we both make it out of here, I would like for you to be my first date.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that didn't happen. So the reason why I said back to that room is because production has a lot to do with who stays and who goes. And so I think initially, based off of some of the questions that were asked to the other female castmates, I think that the initial plan was to try to get me and Joy to work with each other and, have a connection. And so I think they wanted to kind of, do away with Keena early.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because I know we did see you on a date with Joy.
Oh, God.
At one point.
Yeah. So and it's funny, I'll tell you this, just to preface this, I've had more dates than anybody else on the show. I've been on at least 4 and 5 dates with almost all of the ladies.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, if the cameras were set up, if they had a day that they were shooting, I was always shooting. I'm like, man, everybody else get breaks. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm tired. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I had all of these, just a lot of dates. And so with Joy, it's funny because if you guys remember the second chance date, where Tommy said, get your second chance date or whatever.
Yeah.
Joy and I, before we even got to that date, we already talked about it and said, we're just going to be friends. We knew this going in.
Yeah.
And so production wanted me to say that on tape so that you guys could hear it. And so I told her, hey, Joy, okay, you know what? I know you and Clifton's a thing. Let's just be friends. And what you heard from her say is, yeah, you're the homie. And then you heard me go in the men's lounge and say, I had to tell Joy that, we was just being friends, but they never showed that. So it made me look like, oh, he's lying. She friend zoned him and he's in the men's lounge lying.
Right.
Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's epic shade that was being thrown.
Yeah, it seems, I know even just watching even some of the other things with Tori, I know it seems like they kind of shaded some of you guys hard.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, and so it's funny because if you watch, it doesn't matter how well I guess looked in the episode. Somewhere in there's enough shade to cause and create that doubt in your mind anyway.
Yeah. Right. I think because when you're looking at it, you're like, okay, but then all of a sudden something doesn't make sense. Something's off, but you can't pick up what it is. Yeah. Because you hear something or someone says something in a small comment, and you're like, okay, you're trying to get the storyline right, even though they're portraying something else.
Because I think one thing I picked up on this season was it seemed like the fellas were approaching this in many respects, I think you guys were approaching this more mature, at least what we saw, more mature than what I've seen in previous seasons on the guy side.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that there was a lot of guys that approached it like, okay, let's really investigate this and see how this is going to go. As opposed to some seasons that wasn't the case.
Yeah, like all of the men that was there, they were all intentional about finding their person.
Yeah.
And I know this, excuse me, I know this for sure because, I mean, even outside of the cameras, we talk. Demetrius always was checking for Sabrina. Clifton was always checking for Joy as his number one. Wiley was checking for Tiffany. Tori was always checking for Sabrina. It was always, the guys were putting themselves out there. Me, I was a little bit different. I was intentional, but my thing is that I need to understand what's inside of a person before I start to unwrap the vulnerability. And so when you see me moving throughout the season and, you see like Precious, and then you see Tina, you see Carmen and Dakia and all of those connections that are going down, I'm investing enough to grab the data to understand who's standing in front of me. But once I figure that out, that it doesn't work for me, then I'm out of there. And then I just, move on and go to the next, which is what the process is supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Because we thought you had a good connection with Precious. At least Precious was giving us the impression that you guys were having a good connection.
Yeah, and it's funny because I everybody always says, "Oh, why didn't you fight for Precious? She saved you, that time." So let me just clear this up, just so that you know, when Precious was speaking up for me in the ladies' lounge, and then it appeared that I was being saved. Actually, there was a different. It was Cornelius, and it was a different person that was supposed to be on the bottom. Okay. Production, however, wanted to keep the storyline, so they made me go on that date. I was never in jeopardy at that time. Okay. But people were like, well, why didn't you save Precious, or why didn't you speak up for her, because she was riding for you? And my thing is this: Precious had no connections in the men's lounge. I was the sole reason why she lasted that long. Okay. The thing is that Precious had to be responsible and save herself at the same time, meaning, being a little bit lax with the innuendos and all that other stuff that, And so, ultimately she didn't save herself, and that's kind of what happens in that process.
So even with the cameras and production, it seemed like y'all figured out a way still to try to find true connections with the women that were there. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And like I said, for me, I dated all of the ladies multiple times with the exception of AP. I think I only had one date, no group date with her. Okay. But during those group dates and those interactions, you had time to say, hey, what's your phone number? Let me give you a call, and maybe let's talk outside of here.
Okay. And was there a lot of conversation outside? Because since you got all these dates, how you had time to talk to women after?
So I would, I would generally like do check-ins. Like I would check in with Ace. I checked in with Dakia, and we would talk. And Dakia and I, she'd always say, hey, you know what? We still ain't never get no dates. I'm like, look, I asked production like 5-6 times, and it just didn't happen. So, it's like kind of out of my league. But but that was tough because you have these conversations. You're shooting text messages to people, but when you don't follow it up with in-person action and stuff like that, you kind of go under, and people kind of skip over you, and they talk to people that they're getting dates with. Yeah. So that's tough.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask, what regrets or what was, let me put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the one that might have gotten away this season for you?
Yeah, so I would definitely say Keena, and yeah, I mean, I think outside of Keena, I think my strongest connection was with Carmen,
Okay.
you know, and that I felt like, because Carmen's a lot different than what they portray her to be on camera.
Okay.
She's a lot different in person. She is a little bossy, but not overbearing. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
She just has a strong demeanor, and she's actually a really nice person.
Okay.
And so, maybe I could, if I would have hung in there, we probably would have been aligned pretty good. She was probably the next person that I would have aligned well with. But yeah, but definitely Keena, I would have liked to have seen, what could have happened in that situation.
Yeah, because I think one of the things we talked about was that first elimination doesn't make sense, because you're going at that point. If we're looking at the show just from the aspect of you guys are having a mixer and trying to make a decision on who you want to pursue, that first mixer doesn't provide you enough time and opportunity to say this person is or is not worth the process.
Right.
So
one thing I will say about that, though, and I agree with you, with this caveat, though, if they didn't do an elimination, then people would be lazy, I think, and not put in the effort to get to know people. So it kind of keeps you up on your game, knowing that you can get, eliminated.
Get gone the first night.
Yeah. And you don't want to be that guy.
Bring your A game or go home.
Or you be forgotten. You're like, who got eliminated? Who was the first person eliminated?
Yeah, because we had to towards especially at the reunion, we're looking like, oh yeah, I remember him. Oh yeah, I remember her. First episode or two, you're like, okay,
yeah, for sure.
So I think one of the things that came up that I definitely want to kind of get your side with what took place was the Tina situation, because I think at the reunion, she basically was like, you was trying to write a book and
just wait for the book to come out.
And it was like, but that don't make sense.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing. To be honest with you, I was so caught off guard with that. I actually, and I'm not lying, I thought that production told her to say that just to get a response from me, because I'm so laid back, and I wasn't kicking up drama at the reunion. And that's what they like. And I was like, did they have her say that? Because I never had any conversation about a book. And it was funny because everybody there, all 19 castmates were like, what? Like, I hang out with you. You ain't tell me about no book. Everybody's like, yeah, what's going on? It was crazy. I don't have a book coming out at any time. I mean, not a notebook, not an ebook, not a Kindle. I don't have nothing.
Not an Audible.
I got nothing at all. So, yeah, that was that definitely caught me like that was like left field. I was thinking that I actually was waiting for her to say, he's trying to sell records, because that would make a little bit more sense.
Right.
And if you notice, though, throughout the whole process, I never mentioned anything about me doing music for like major recording artists and things like that, because I never wanted to get that misconstrued with the purpose of me being there.
Yeah, because it was just like, huh?
Yeah.
Now, it did mention, you talked about your rap group that you had. So kind of tell us a little bit about where you are now, because they kept putting you out that you were IT systems analyst with your label.
So I am I'm a systems engineer as my secondary job. Music is my first job. Like, I work with major recording artists. I worked with the late DJ K Slade, just passed away. That was my my mentor. That was my guy that put me on. You know, he put me in front of all of the labels and the people that I ever needed to talk to. The guy did like so much for me. So that's my primary job. Corporate America is the secondary job.
Gotcha.
But you know me, I'm out here. I'm gonna make sure I get every green.
Yeah. Froze up real quick.
Paul, you froze.
Must be that book tour.
He's a book tour.
You froze real quick, Paul. So hopefully you can hear us.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right, yeah, my internet connection sometimes it's a little goofy.
I get it. So are you in PG County?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yeah, I was born and raised there. I went to Largo High School. So
okay.
And lived in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. My husband he said one day is Largo, one day is Upper Marlboro.
And then it's Kettering. So.
He froze again.
He frozen again.
Start talking about PG County, and then all of a sudden you just out there. Hopefully we can get Paul back.
Yeah.
In a few seconds here. While we're doing that, if any of our viewers that are on, if you have a question for Paul, you can start thinking about that and put it in the chat, and we may choose one or two questions. So if you're currently live with us and you have a question for Paul.
And Paul
popped out real quick.
So we'll see if we can get him back. He can pop back in at any time. I think his internet kicked him out. But yeah, so as you see, we've been having a conversation with Paul. We definitely want to hear if you've got any questions for Paul. Hopefully he'll pop back in. But if you've got any questions for Paul, definitely put them in the chat. We want to try and make sure we get everything out of Paul that we can. There we go. He's coming back in.
Sorry about that. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
I'm
That's
so
okay.
sorry. Yeah,
that's okay.
This internet, it's raining and the internet is just like got a little janky on me. Sorry about that. But yeah, PG County. Yep. So you said you went to Largo.
Yeah, I went to Largo High School.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you from deep in Maryland. Okay.
Yeah, deep in Maryland.
That's cool.
Yeah, because we lived out there for 3 years out in the Laurel area. So
yeah, we went to school. Yeah, we went to school in Oklahoma, and then he came back to where I'm from. So yeah, we lived there 3 years.
So y'all know about them storms then.
Yeah, bro.
But I had to get him on that chicken and mumbo sauce.
Yeah. Listen. I don't think people know about, because one of the things, now out here in Phoenix, living in different parts of the city of the country, the Chinese food stores there are different than any place else. Because you can get a full meal at the Chinese food place
in 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes. Everything is 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, everywhere. Yes, it's always 10 minutes.
A steak and cheese.
10 minutes.
Them steak and cheese.
I know. Yeah, for sure.
So one of our viewers, Toyin, has a question. What did you learn about yourself by going through the process?
So I learned one of the problems that I used to have, and it showed up in the process, was I have a vision for how people should be. And I realized that I have to take people as individuals and not as the person that I think they should be. So, and that was key, because everybody don't roll at your pace. Everybody's not, going to accept you or, gravitate to you based off of, what you want to show them. You have to sometimes meet people where they are.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I guess we all can learn from that,
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that I think you never stop realizing, is that people don't move the way that you think they should, or really in a lot of respects, the way that they should.
Right. Right. So
it's like self-destructing.
Right.
Yeah, so, for sure.
I know we're jumping around a little bit, but there was something else that you said that we were like, we got to ask you about that one.
The Kia thugged out.
Yeah.
Let me take it. Let me just take it from you. Right.
Like,
So,
what happened?
Yeah. So when we were actually talking, and I didn't even know we were rolling, but I should have known better than that. And basically what I was trying to say, because the guys was like, she's always, boss mode. She's always boss mode. I don't know if I could get past that. And I'm like, so my way of saying, after, she gets home, she can let her hair down, and and be the woman that you need her to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I just said it in a locker room way.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay. And that's kind of, it's kind of what I thought. It's something along those lines, is that she's probably a different person than what you see, because I think every man can appreciate a woman that knows how to be one way in public and in the streets or whatever, and be a different way at home.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly. Yep.
So, okay. All right. Another question that came, Paul, if they invited you back to participate in next season, would you do it? And if so, would you be more vocal towards what you like?
Okay, so I'll answer that first part very quickly. No. But as far as being vocal, I've always been vocal. You have to remember they had a story that they had to sell. So they chopped it up and they only let you hear those smaller pieces. But I've always given people, a good version of what I wanted, and kind of like the things that I was looking for. I was always open about that. So unfortunately, you guys didn't get to see a lot of that, but I was pretty much open and vocal in that process.
Yeah, because I think you asked a lot of tough questions, a lot of great questions. Right. And it was a departure from maybe what we saw with other people or what we've seen before. But I think that your questions, because I think about the one that you had with Precious and
Tiffany, I think.
Tiffany.
Oh, Tiffany, yeah.
And Tiffany was the one that told you that she wanted fluff.
Right.
So
yeah.
So how did that go down? Because we were looking at that like
I was just like,
that's weird.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, if we go back to that date with Tiffany, I was like having conversation with her, but I was getting short answers. Like, what kind of things do you like to do in your free time? Oh, I like to just chill and nothing else. And, so it was like these questions were like the answers where you would expect to engage in some sort of dialogue, like, oh, well, I like to go shopping. Oh, yeah, I like to do that too. Oh, well, where do you like to go? That type of dialogue normally, comes about in just, general conversation. So that's where we started, and I wasn't getting there. So I said, okay, well, maybe I need to switch up what and the way that I ask questions to get the data, to get to, to get to understand who this is. Right, and that's why you heard me say, if you were a spoken word show, what would you call that? Because that would tell me if you're an exciting person, or you chill, or you laid back, and then I asked about, do you speak to the cashier when you check out? Because that tells me if you're kind, if you have compassion, what I mean, and what type of person you really are. So I started to ask those types of questions, just because I wasn't getting anywhere with the, with just general conversation. Gotcha. So when we got to the elimination date, which I was like dreading to have to do that. I'm like, why did y'all pick me? So we got there and we were having some conversation, and like she wouldn't let me get deep. Like I was trying to not pride, but I was just trying to get a window and a feel for who she really was.
Right.
And me knowing that I had to eliminate her, I was actually asking her questions to help her set herself free from that last episode, giving her a chance to sort of make a comeback on the way out.
Right.
And that went the opposite direction. and here's what made it right. But here's what made it even tough. Because when I said it, they were like, "Oh man, we need to get that a little bit better. So you need to tell her again that she's not ready to love." And so I think that's where you saw the explosion, because it's like, what? I got to sit here and listen to this again? Oh, no, I'm ready to go. And then they made her stay there and take it a second time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a little rough.
Yeah, I could not imagine.
Yeah. Right. And then talking about the because there was also that date that you had with Sabrina.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The trap. I call that the trap date. So let's go back. So that date with Sabrina, it's crazy. This is what I mean by a little bit of shade, and I'll break that down to you. So Sabrina and I, we talked or attempted to talk over the phone, right?
Okay.
And so I wasn't really getting anywhere, like, I was getting like kind of nonchalant answers, things like that. So I said, all right, you know what? I'm off of it, because that's how I move. I'm like, okay, I can read signals, so I'm cool with that. And so once again, production sets up the date. Mm-hmm. So I show up to the date, and then they preloaded her with a response. So they told her, we're going to have him ask you this question.
Wow.
When he does, unload on him.
Wow.
So the question was, they wanted me to ask her, do I bring you joy? Now, I'm sitting here like, now, there ain't no way in God's green earth I'm going to sit here and ask this woman this question.
Mm-hmm.
When I don't even, first off, I'm not there. And then I don't even know you well enough to even say something like that. Like, why would I say that? So, so the conversation then morphed into, look, let's just get it out the way. And this is what I said to her. I said, look, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. Like, do you see anything between us? Because what I'm getting from you over the phone, is equal in nothing. But I just, I'd rather just know.
Right.
And so they must have gave her the load, because they'll have like their phone. They have their phone and they'll have these words on it, like, give it to them now. It's like a prompt, almost a teleprompter.
Yeah.
And that's when, she's like, nah, and then started with the mentor thing and all this other stuff. And I'm like, what? Okay, whatever. So then, when I go to the confessional, they asked me, they said, because, you have to repeat it back as if it's present tense when they ask you the questions. So they were like, were you hurt by Sabrina? And I'm like, I was not hurt by Sabrina. And what did they take out? The not. And they made me say, I was hurt by Sabrina.
Wow.
Exactly. That's what I'm like. Here comes the shade, so yeah. So that's kind of and I was like, I was like boiling when I saw that. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, they so shady with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So you said you binge watched the previous season. So which was your favorite season out of all the seasons that you watched?
Okay, so Houston is the reason why I said I will do this. Okay. Because Houston represented classiness, it was sexiness, it was Black people being professional, showing Black excellence. And I mean, they showed like mature arguments and things like that, but they still didn't dramify it and make it, unclassy and real trashy. And so I was like thinking, well, that's cool. I could, this is something that I could rock with. And then when I get there, they switch the whole format up. Like, nah, we won't give you we gonna throw it all at you.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. And that's how we got into watching the show. It's because, okay, we're going to see Black love, and people, like we always do, are searching for love, but they are professionals.
Yeah.
They do know how to handle themselves, right? And we get to see us.
Right.
And so that's how we got into it, and we started having these conversations about it just in our living room, or we're, in our bedroom, we're watching it. And so for us, it was just like, okay. But again, even for this season with you guys, and like you say, there's a lot behind the scenes. I feel like the guys really handled themselves really well.
Yeah.
And even though it comes off a little bit where we knew the editing was off, you guys really stepped up to the plate. So
thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Because like all of us, we sat there. I mean, we really, like when we first came in there, all the fellas, we had a this was before like the curveballs, before Cornelius and Donovan and Eric got there. But we all sat there and we made a pact, and we said, we're going on national TV, and as Black professional men, as brothers, we gonna keep each other uplifted, and when there's tough times, we want to make sure that we talk through that outside of the cameras, and we don't want to make each other look bad on national television. And we held to that.
Yeah. I think that's because again, we watch the show as fans. We watch the show just because we love, and we love to see Black excellence, Black love. We recognize that there are going to be some drama pieces in there. There's going to be some storylines built, but I think one of the things that we just definitely enjoy is watching how, like you said, a social experiment, watching how that unfolds, right?
Right.
Now, do y'all feel like Wiley was a little jaded with them giving him the young vibe throughout the show until he was eliminated?
Yeah, see, I think that I think for him, it was like, the ladies weren't giving him any type of shot. They were putting his age up, and he's like, look, I understand what the numbers are, but who I am doesn't necessarily mean that, I should be defined by this number. Define me by the person that I am and who I represent today. And they weren't doing that for him.
Wow.
And that's crazy. I mean, if you had an opportunity and you're going to present yourself and you have opportunity for a younger man, they decided not to pursue that. So
and I think one of the things about the process is you're dating differently, so you're doing things that you don't typically do in the real world because you want to make sure that you're not isolating yourself from a potential lifelong partner. And people came in with preferences into this process. I mean, I came in and realized, okay, these people, this girl, this one wouldn't be the typical person that I would date in the real world, but we're in this experience together. And so I'm going to at least try, because I need to make sure that I'm not overlooking somebody that could be my potential mate.
So at any point, did you want to self-eliminate based off of who was there?
Yeah. So right after the retreat, that's funny. Right after the retreat, we it was me and Dakia. We went on a date, and then it was along the same screen or the same episode. It was Clifton and Joy, so they were going back and forth. And so I had a conversation at that date with Dakia, and I said, if your process ended today, how would you feel? How would you feel going back into the real world? And she said, I would take some time, and just kind of get through what I'm getting through and move forward and whatever. And I said, okay, perfect, because I'm self-eliminating. I got up, I took the microphone off, I got up and I walked out, Yeah, and that's why in that date you guys didn't see an ending because there was none. The ending was me in the parking lot.
Wow.
Okay.
So yeah,
Wow.
and then I talked to her and she's like, you know what, just go through it, go through the process because the next date at that brunch with where Carmen, where Carmen blew it up. um, it was funny because that, that was something. That was something. But that day, I was hoping that I was going to get eliminated at that time because a man was supposed to go home,
Mm.
and then that changed into that big fiasco. But yeah, and in that setting, somebody was supposed to go home, so I was like, please let it be me, and I can just skip right on out of here. But that didn't happen. So yeah.
So you chose yourself a long time ago before we
Yeah,
even got to decision day.
yeah, because and that was the thing. Like when I was talking to Dakia, I was being sincere. Like
Mhm.
and I felt like she needed to understand that, it's not her. There
Right.
are people in this world that will find value in, the type of woman that she is.
Hmm.
Um, and so, I never, was quote unquote trying to run game or whatever. And some
Right.
people thought, oh, he's just trying to stay on the show. And I'm sitting there watching, like, man, if y'all only knew, I was trying to get out of here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that didn't happen. So, but yeah, once I had, you know, went through all of those emotions and processed all of that stuff, I was like, kind of checked out, and I was just ready.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I was just
Mhm.
ready to go. So and she and I had a conversation with her the decision day, and I'll tell you this, and this is probably I probably I probably shouldn't have, but you guys should have known. Like the dead giveaway for me would have been when I showed up to the choose me uh, thing at the end, and I
Mhm.
Hmm.
didn't have a suit on. I was like,
Mhm.
man, I am not putting on no suit for this. I'm just gonna sit up here.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna go out here and we're gonna just deliver the news and I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna go back to bed and get me some sleep. But because and we talked beforehand. I told her, I said, all right, just so you know, so you're not blindsided, I'm gonna choose myself. You're choosing yourself, right? And she said yes. And I said,
He said, right. We'll make
oh,
sure.
right. So and that's what it was. So we knew coming into that. It didn't matter if she went first or I went first or whatever. I was choosing myself. She was going to choose herself.
Yeah.
And that was that. It was, I think, at that point in the process, I don't know if production would have allowed us as the final three couples to just eliminate and take us off. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, they have a show that they have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
produce. So,
Yeah.
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 Makes sense.
Yeah. So going back to the previous seasons,
Mhm.
if you had a pick of any of the ladies from the previous seasons,
Ooh.
Mhm.
who'd you like a shot with?
So they're all almost married, but it would
Oh,
have
wow.
been
Okay.
it would have
Didn't
been
know that. That's good to know.
oh yeah, I've been following them.
Okay.
But no, it would have been maybe Reva,
Okay.
Shatava, and Alexis.
Okay.
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 Yeah,
Okay. All right. I see you, Paul. I see you.
yeah. And you know what? They all got that same demeanor.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another good question that was there.
That's probably the last
Yeah,
one.
that's probably because we don't want to hold you up all night because I know it's
That's
late
all
where
good.
you. But do you feel a therapist would be a part or helpful to the process? Is there any therapy going on, or I know you said you
Right.
like that personality test and everything, but
Yeah, so I'm glad you said that. I think that they should make adjustments to the show. Um, I think that there should be somebody there that can offer people not only just therapy, but also, a counselor that can help people create connections and maintain connections and nurture connections, because, Tommy, I mean, he's an actor, right?
Right.
His
Right.
job, that's his title on the show, actor.
Yeah.
He's not a licensed therapist, he's, or any of that stuff. And I mean, yeah, if you want to have him there for the entertainment factor, that's fine. But I think that this show would produce real love results at the end of the day if you had a component where folks could sit down and talk to, a counselor, a therapist, or something. That's part one. Second part of that is that during the filming, I don't think that you really need the therapy at that point, but when it hits the airwaves, that's when they need to start rolling out the therapy.
Wow.
Because for me, somebody like myself, I'm strong. I mean, and I've already gone through therapy in my previous marriage, and I continue to do that just in certain situations or when I'm dealing with stuff or the load is heavy. But certain people, they don't have, they don't have that outlet. They don't know how to even ask for it. They don't know where to go, who to even talk to. And when you put someone's life on the airwaves and you show their perfect life in reverse, that's a lot to handle. And then you have social media that attacks them and beats them up real good. And so, for the average person, they're not going to be able to hold on, and do well with that.
Right.
Yeah. And what was funny for me is when I came in and the mixer played, and I was like, what in the world is this? And then knowing that I made it to the end, plus the reunion, I'm thinking, oh boy, I got 14 more weeks of this. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, everything you're saying, especially when like, hold on, that conversation didn't go that way.
Right.
I guess if it played out like it was as you experienced it, it would have been different.
Right.
But to see it chopped up and then it gets you looking a certain way, that also brings another level. Like, well, I was never portrayed the way I am.
Right.
You kind of turned me into someone else. And then that's the continuous scenario that either you're going to fight it, which turns out to be a battle you don't win, or you're like, you know what? I know who I am. I'm good. And I just got to move on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, it's hard for some people to come to those terms. It really is, especially in the moment. And then, also the network, they don't prepare you for the fame part of it. Like, you think, that you're going to be famous, but you don't really get it until you get it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that in itself can be, in some cases, nerve-wracking, and in some cases flattering, but sometimes you just want to have your little lunch, your sandwich, and just be in your corner and listen to your earphones.
So that means your DMs are popping then.
You know what? I stay out of those DMs because
I heard the DMs could be really crazy if you start opening those doors.
Yeah. Those DMs is stay out of those. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah.
Now, I've also noticed that sometimes people can take on that character, once it's created by TV. And I see a lot of people, they're hosting now, like we're finding them showing up on other shows.
Right.
How did you decide to stay grounded and kind of say, okay, this part of my experience in life is over, but I'm going back to my music, what I love, my passion, and my everyday life, and not allow that to take a turn, maybe some, way you weren't planning to go?
Yeah. So when I came in, you have to understand, like, I've always been around the entertainment stuff. Like I've been to BET Awards. I've been around these, famous musicians. and things like that. So I never wanted to chase fame. I actually ran away from it. You know, there was a time where, where they were doing a premiere of a song that I produced, and I ran away. Like, no, I don't want none I don't want to be on TV. I don't want to be, you know what I mean? Right. I ran away from that stuff. So I think when people, they get those other opportunities is because they still chase that drug fame. And that's kind of one of the worst drugs to be on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so, yeah. So I said, nah. I'm detoxing.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to let you go, but you have to tell us one song that we would know that you produce. Since you like to be in the background, like Lecrae sings about, you got to tell us at least one song.
Okay, so my very, very first song that that I produced was with a national recording artist was Papoose, and the name of the song is called "It's Over."
Okay,
and that's that's out there. It's on Spotify. It's everywhere.
Nice.
It'll say produced by POJ. But yeah, it's out there. That's one of them. That was like my first one that kind of hit the airwaves.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So Paul, what's next for you? We're gonna wrap it up, but what's next for you? What's I know you detoxing, and what's ahead for you?
So what I want to start doing is, so one of the things I'm taking away from the show is the fact that I deliver, right? I say that, in the show, it's been a running thing. And so now, right at this point, I'm using that because I deliver to deliver like philanthropy to, just to help folks out. I've been fortunate in my life to, make moves and do things, and it, gave me a little bit of extra, money and stuff. So I want to start delivering good deeds, random acts of kindness to people. That's like, I'm going to try to do that. And then hopefully, as I go through and do that, folks will try to partner with me and we can make that an ongoing thing, because the money will run out one day.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's what I really want to focus on. Delivering good deeds, good days to people, and just random acts of kindness.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, we appreciate you, Paul, for hanging out with us for this hour.
No doubt about it.
We have as fans letting us know kind of the behind the scenes stuff that we saw but didn't know what we were seeing, that type of stuff. So we definitely appreciate you.
Yeah. Can I say something to you?
Yeah.
So I stumbled onto your YouTube stuff accidentally, but I think that you guys do great. You do really professional reviews. Your content is really good, spot on. It's not, you guys don't really trash us. You give folks, you understand that there's a life behind, the people that you're talking about. And I appreciate that. And I'm sure my castmates do as well.
Oh, yeah. That's been our approach. Oh, no problem, man. Because that's been our approach. We've determined that we're not going to be, we don't get into the whole, he said, she said, a lot of, we follow you on Instagram. We follow a lot of the cast on Instagram, but we're not tracking everything that you guys say, looking for the latest tea.
Right.
We recognize that you guys are people that signed up to do something because of whatever reasons, right? And you have a life afterwards.
And then also it helps us. I think a lot of people, the reason why they look at Ready to Love, Married at First Sight, because they want to see, ooh, I date that way.
Right.
Or I respond that way when someone talks to me. And I think it's teachable moments without saying that's you, but it's you, right?
Right.
But you can always agree like, ooh, I wouldn't say it that way. Or maybe I should, or you can go back in your past and like, I dated that way. Or and so I think we try to use it as teachable moments to point out like, okay, now we can do better, and I think in those times it helps us and helps everyone else just to kind of put a spotlight, like someone else can be the example so that we don't have to look at ourselves.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But we can learn from it. So
absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, once again, Paul, we definitely appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate the love,
doubt.
and definitely let us know how we can, support or help out with anything that you got going on.
All right, we'll do. Yeah, I'll be watching you guys doing your reviews next season.
Yeah, because Miami is a little. I'm a little scared by Miami. I'm a little scared by Miami because I know that's just gonna be.
That's gonna be interesting.
That's gonna be some mess. That's gonna be some mess. Yeah, there's a lot going on in Miami.
So there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
All right, but Paul, again, thanks for stopping by. To all of the KT squad, appreciate you all for watching our interview with Paul. And definitely, of course, make sure you like, share, request notifications, follow, and all those fun things. And we'll see you next time. Have a great one. Be blessed.
Right.